Welcome to Let's Talk with Coach Stone. I am Coach Stone. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for coming in, everyone. I'm just going to wait for some people to load up. We got a special guest in here, Anthony Lue. I'm going to tag him in a second. Before I bring on my special guest, hey, Anthony, good to see you, man. Hey, Joe, Tash, what's going on, everybody? So before I kind of bring on Anthony, this is I think it's the third or fourth week I've been doing Let's Talk with Coach Stone, and a lot of great feedback and so on. And I always try to bring you guys, amazing conversations with friends and people that I admire. My homegirl Tash, she's in here. If you missed that conversation, make sure that you go back and watch Let's Talk with Coach Stone with Tash's episode. So today, I have a special guest that I'm bringing on here, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things. So I'm going to tag in Anthony, and we're going to get started here. I'm going to go live with Anthony. He's coming in here.
I see. Can you hear me?
I hear you, but I don't see you yet. It's still connecting.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it's still saying connecting, so we'll just wait. Hey, Matt. Mr. Jones, what's going on? Doa. Afrocentric, what's up, everybody? Just waiting for Anthony to come in here. Still saying
hope it's not my internet.
Well, it's saying connecting. Let me cancel and try to get you back on here. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay. Let's see if we can get Anthony back in here. Go live. All right. We'll tag you back in, Anthony. Okay. There we go. Hey, all right. We got you, man. How you doing, brother?
Yep. I'm amazing. How are you?
Good, man. You're looking clean, too. I had to do a little shave today,
I had to get the barber over. I was suffering. Like, my hair's never been so long in my life. People were commenting, and it had to go.
Listen, thank the Lord for barbers, right?
Yeah, I honestly don't know what I'd do without them.
Well, everybody, welcome to Let's Talk with Coach Stone. I got my man Anthony Lue here, and Anthony is a motivational speaker and Paralympic hopeful. So we're going to get into all kinds of stuff today, but thanks so much for being here, Anthony. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me on. I didn't expect to be on your I guess podcast live this soon, but it's welcome, most definitely.
Yeah, man. I remember meeting you at our Toronto book launch. So for those who don't know, I launched a book with 9 other Black men. The book is called New Me, and we had this big Toronto book launch in January, and I don't know, it was 300 or 400 people at the event. It was a really great event. And I remember talking to you, and you were saying, look, I'm a motivational speaker, I'm working on a book, and you were telling me all these other things, and I was just like, man, I just liked your energy, I liked your positivity, and I was like, yo, I'm going to connect with this guy at some point. And guess what? Today's the day.
Yep, timing's everything.
Yeah, man. So what have you kind of been doing over the last couple of weeks during all of this COVID and all that kind of stuff? What have you been doing to keep busy?
First, for the most part, as you mentioned, Paralympic hopeful, so I've been training a lot. I'm very fortunate to be able to have my bike in the apartment. Now it's downstairs, but generally it's literally right behind me on the floor here, and I can pedal away for a couple hours a day. Upload my workouts to my coach is keeping me accountable and making sure that I'm getting all that done. So that takes up a good portion of the day between eating and just preparing for that ride and whatnot after when I'm tired and just trying to recover. Besides that, it's one of those things where I said, if I ever got injured again and I was laid up for a long period of time, I'd figure out how to play poker and make a lot of money. But, I didn't really want to gamble too much like that. So I said, let me try and figure out the stock market, because with the way that everything has gone, and after the last financial crisis, a lot of people made a lot of money on the stock market when everything corrected, right? So I always wanted to learn about it. And as I said, timing is everything. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. So I got into a bit of an online course and just been studying and learning through, that stock avenue. And for the most part, that's pretty much it.
Well, that's a lot.
Playing video games.
That's a lot.
Relaxing.
But that's a lot. You're training, and learning the stock market. And let's just jump on the stock market thing. Can you hear me? I think you froze there for a second. Man, go. Okay, I got you. So we're gonna come back to the other thing, but what is something that you would tell people about the stock market? I know you don't have to be an expert or anything, but because a lot of people have this misconception about the stock market that I need a lot of money to get started.
No, you definitely don't. You definitely don't. The first thing I would say is do your research, like anything, because there's so many different avenues to get started with and get going in the stocks. So do your research, do a lot of research, YouTube, Google, whatever it may be, and trying to figure out what you're getting into the stock market for, because there's day trading, there's people that just buy and hold for forever. So you really need to know why you're getting into the stock market. And then at that point, it becomes a little bit easier for you to figure out where you're going. But like you said, you don't need a lot of money. You just got to find the right platform, get in, and start investing.
Yeah, I know that's great advice, because I know I have a lot of people that just think that, I don't have hundreds of thousands. Find something that you're interested in. Look at stocks in that industry that you're interested in. If it's technology, if it's video games, if it's clothing, and just find companies in that field to get started. So I love that. So you were telling me you do some motivational speaking. How did you get into motivational speaking?
When I got injured, it just kind of happened right away. I was at Sunnybrook Hospital in the trauma ward, and a lady came to my bedside, and she's like, I run this program for youth, and we basically want to tell them, be careful when you're out there, because a lot of spinal cord injuries happen with just young kids partying and reckless activities. So she basically brought 15 kids into my hospital room. I was underneath the blanket, still naked, leg bag hanging off the side of the bed. Yeah, everything. And
What?
I basically told these kids my story, and I was just kind of like, I was a reckless kid. I was at work, not doing anything wrong, and this is kind of what happened to me. So be careful. It was about 10 minutes, and that's just kind of how it started. So once I left the hospital, I went to rehab. That program was actually run out of the rehab facility. So 2 times a week, I was leaving my physio or my occupational therapy that was going on, going downstairs and taking these kids on a tour of the facility. And with 2 other people, we tell them our stories, how we got injured and how it could have been prevented. So that's basically how I started speaking.
Wow. Talk about getting thrown into motivational speaking. Hey kids, come see this guy in his hospital bed. What?
Basically, yep. Yep.
Wow.
I can remember the kid standing there, like I said, the leg bags hanging off with the bed with the pee, and the kid standing right beside it. And I'm like, this is kind of messed up, but
wow.
It worked.
I think that's a good sort of segue, because your story is a very empowering story. So why don't you talk to people a little bit about sort of what happened and how you got injured and all that kind of stuff.
All right. So I guess we'll just go back to high school, because that's really where everything started. Well, just growing up, I was an amazing athlete. Things transitioned very well when I got to high school, and I started running track. Hurdles was my forte, and I played provincial baseball. I went to Pickering High School, so they had an amazing athletics program there. We were traveling all over the States. It was absolutely amazing. So when I went OFSA in grade 10, I knew that I was destined for greatness. I was going to go for a dual scholarship down to the States, and I was going to be a professional athlete. To put into perspective, Donovan Bailey never won a gold medal at OFSA. So I really felt that I was going places.
Right.
I was injured in that race. I took a year off. I partied. I had a lot of fun, and that continued basically through the rest of high school. And like as we were talking about earlier, I got into a crowd that I probably shouldn't have been in and just doing some silly things. And I ended up losing my scholarship, and the downturn started. So it was about a year and a half of just even more reckless, stupid behavior. And I decided I needed to get my life back on track. So I was training again. And I saw a motivational speaker say one day that if you find a job that you love, it's never like working a day in your life. So I took that to heart, and I was always breaking my mom's car. So I'm like, let me go try and figure out how to be a mechanic kind of thing in case this athletic stuff doesn't work out. So went down the street, got an apprenticeship, absolutely amazing working with performance vehicles, quarter mile, cars that do 200, 300 kilometers an hour easy.
Wow.
And so I was in like heaven on earth kind of thing, right?
Right.
So 11 months in, it was a regular day. Boss asked me to bring some cars down the street to the scrapyard, and I was like, whatever. Jumped in one of these cars, and I was steering it because nothing worked in the car. They drained all the engine oil, brake fluid, all that stuff. So they basically pushed me and my buddy down the street in two different cars with one van. We got to the scrapyard, and to make a long story short, as I was coming off the weigh-in scale, the crane operator with the massive magnet claws and the magnet came through the yard. The crane operator dropped the magnet on the car, crushed me inside. He then proceeded to pick me up to about 15 feet in the air, and someone jumps out and is like, someone's still inside the car. Buddy panics and drops me from 15 feet, and I came crashing back down to the ground. So that's when I woke up. The roof 6 inches away from my head, couldn't see the passenger side of the car, and my hand's still on the steering wheel, just saying, thank God, because I was alive.
Man, like you're really lucky to be alive. You would drop from 50 feet in a
15,
car?
15, 1-5.
Oh, 15
Yeah,
feet.
1-5,
Still,
yeah.
Still, like, and so like, what happened? Like during that time, like when you came to, like, what was that whole thing that happened when you came to? Like,
initially, like I knew exactly what had happened because out of the corner of my eye, I saw it coming, but I just didn't have time to react. So my first thought was, thank God. And then my buddy that was in the first car that was supposed to go came to my door. He tried to get it open. My boss ripped it off, and he basically kneels down. He's like, dude, can you feel everything? So I took my hands off the steering wheel, and I could feel the pain in my torso, but I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't feel anything like waist down. So I thought my legs were broken. I slapped my right leg. It fell over to my left leg, and I was just kind of like, something's not right. But I didn't know anything about spinal cord injuries, so I was just like, it is what it is. I was kind of like woozy from just being knocked out. So I'm just trying to remember, like, stay awake and little things like that. So the paramedics showed up, the firefighters showed up, and then they asked all those questions like your name, do you know where you are? And I was able to answer it all, which was a really good sign that I didn't have a brain injury, or at least too bad of a brain injury. And thank God, you know, no brain injury. My mother would say different, but it's, you know, I'm so thankful. Like I came out of that, like people have died from a lot less. So.
Of course. I mean, man, it's a miracle that you lived through that. That, I mean, like you said, it could have been fatal, right? And
Yeah.
the fact that you walked away from that, I mean, that's a miracle within itself, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, kind of like after that, like once that happened and after that kind of happened, like, were you angry? Were you like, what were the emotions that you were going through once you kind of realized that you had this spinal injury?
So initially I thought that I was just going to get up and walk out of the hospital, right? So I didn't think too deeply into it. I spent 1 month at Sunnybrook on their trauma ward. And again, just being drugged up and everything, you really don't realize everything. And then I got shipped off to rehab down the street. I was there for 3 months. And that's when things became real for me, because everybody was in wheelchairs.
Okay.
They were now getting me out of my bed to do physiotherapy, occupational therapy, to figure out how to use this wheelchair. And the harder I worked, the less came back kind of thing, right? It was like I was losing more feeling every day.
Right.
And it was just kind of like, it was probably about 2 months that I realized that I might not be walking out of rehab.
Wow.
And I was very fortunate that I have an amazing support system, my faith in God. And and my support system. Like my family was at the hospital within hours, like family from St. Catharines, Rochester, friends. Like there was a lineup in the hallway. People were lying on the ground. And, you know, so I just felt the love from the get-go, and I knew that I would be okay. So there was never really those ill feelings towards the guy. I saw him jump out of the crane pretty well in tears. And growing up, my mom, and just growing up in the church, my mom, she always said, don't ask why. You know, they're from the unjust. And it's just one of those things. So I was just like, I forgive you, because, you know, I tried to be angry at the guy for like a day or two or kind of thing. I was like, well, being sad sucks. You know, that's not me. That's not who I am. So, and then again, if I was sad and I was down and I saw people come to visit me, because they didn't really know how to react. You know, people were like, he's paralyzed. And if you knew me before, like I did the most. I was fast. I was agile. I could do whatever, you know? So people were like, what's it going to be like for him now, kind of thing. And they walk in the room, they see me smiling, and then you could see like the relief that they're like, okay, he's fine. And, you know, he'll make it through. So,
I mean, that's amazing. And the fact, and you said it too, I think it's the fact that, you know, you believe in God and you had this support system. Like how else could you make it through if you didn't have those things, right?
Honestly, I don't know how people make it through rehab, because you see people at the hospital, they don't have any visitors. They don't got a Bible at the side of their bed. They have nothing, you know, they don't even have the cheap TV. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like you're going crazy all on your own. And I honestly don't know how you make it through something like that. But then you see the after effects, you know, you hear about the shut-ins and you hear the statistics of people that commit suicide and all sorts of stuff. So it's I'm not going to say it's easy. It's definitely not easy. I still have very difficult days, but like I said, I have an amazing support system. So
yeah, and I think that's really important. Let's take a look at the comments here. Afrocentric said, thank God you're alive. Your Tash said, you're a living miracle right now. Wow. Empress Nad said, the most. Lopez said, amazing story. And, you know, I think for a lot of people, you know, I know it's your faith in God and your family, but like, how did you get this mindset? Like, how did you just develop this like powerful, positive mindset? Because a lot of people who've been through way less than you have feel defeated. They don't want to continue on. They feel like the world is against them, and they have way less obstacles than you had at that particular time and the one that you have right now. So like, what advice would you give to somebody who's kind of feeling like they can't move on?
Advice to say, if you can't move on, honestly, you got to see where you're at. Like realize what the issue is and see why you're not able to progress. And over the past year, I've listened to so many audiobooks and just trying to work on my personal development. And the one thing that really stuck out to me was this guy, David Goggins, was a Navy SEAL or a Marine or something like this. And he's got an incredible story. And his book's called You Can't Hurt Me. But the mental fortitude that you just kind of have to build up. But he said there's things in our life that debilitate us. When we're kids growing up, you hear stuff from whether it's a parent, a teacher, a friend that you won't amount to this, you'll never make it there, you're blah, 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 blah. And subconsciously, whether you know it or not, it's stuck in your mind and you carry that through. And the one thing that he said is you got to write all that stuff down. You got to write it down, get it out. And again, get that weight off your shoulder, because when you identify the issue, then you can start moving forward and figuring out how to correct it, right? So that would be my main thing, is identify the issue and see why you are where you're at, and then take baby steps. Don't try and eat the whole pie all at once, because you get sick and puke all over yourself. But it's
no, you know what? That is great advice, because you know, I often talk to, you know, audiences and coaching clients about that, because when you're feeling stuck in some area of your life, whether it's you're stuck in your job or you just feel lost in life, or you feel like everybody's passing by you, or maybe it's a relationship that you're in, when you're feeling stuck, it's always good to do that work on yourself, to ask what is the source of this? And exactly like you said, like so many of our negative sort of energy and our negative mindset and this feeling of being overwhelmed and stuck, a lot of it comes from our childhood and the things that we heard and we said, and we just never really identified it, so we can't move through it. So I'm glad that you said that, man, because it's really important for people that, like, what is the source of this anger, unrest, fear? Where does it come from? And a lot of us just don't do that work. So definitely kudos to you for jumping into books and really like and listening to audio books and all that, because that's where you grow, right? You grow through understanding yourself and knowing who you are. So that I think that's great. I mean, that's really great advice for people.
Thanks.
Your Tash said, we were just talking about the power of looking at where you are today. Tash is a good friend of mine. Her and I just had this conversation earlier today. She said, you need to see what's holding you back before you can clear it and clean up.
Exactly.
That's so dope.
Exactly.
Man. I love that. And so when you're out here, you know, motivational speaking and so on, like what's like one of the main messages that you try to relate to people?
No matter what life throws at you, don't give up, because life is going to throw you curveballs almost daily, depending on who you are and what you do, right? So it's one of those things where, and I was talking to someone earlier about this, and I'm sure you've seen the picture of that guy, and he's digging and he's going for the diamond, he's digging and he's digging, and he gives up and he's like a foot away from getting to that diamond. And then right underneath, there's that picture and the man's going crazy because he made it to the diamond and he's super happy. And it's one of those things that sometimes we're an inch or two away from our diamond and then we just give up,
Yes.
you know, because like I said, life's not easy. And there's so many things, like you might be having a bad day and then you get a phone call and something else comes down and you're like, you know what? That's it. Right. But that's one thing that I can say that I've never really truly given up on too many things in my life. And even if it didn't work out, I figured out that it didn't work out. And at least I know that it doesn't work out and I can move on from there, right? You at least have to try and figure it out, but you can't give up.
I think that's the thing. And I think a lot of people give up because they're not clear about what they want in the first place. And their why is not big enough. When your what and why are so big, then the hurdles and the roadblocks, you're just like, I'm on a bigger mission. So today's not the great day, but I'm going to keep going. This happened, but I'm still going to keep going because you're on that bigger mission, right? And I think
keeping your eye on the prize.
You're right. And I think a lot of us get caught up with the how. We map things out in our mind the way it's supposed to go. And when it doesn't go that way, we kind of get derailed. And so like for you too, you were this like prominent athlete that was on your way to probably becoming a pro athlete. How did you make that transition? Like, you know, once you realized that you couldn't achieve those types of dreams, how did you kind of deal with that?
I knew that I had to view life through a different lens. I had to adjust. Like you said, things don't always go your way. And if you're not able to, I'm searching for the word here, be able to, it's not malleable, but like, you know, just bend with it and then go with, whatever the word is. I know you know what I'm trying to say, but just go with the flow. You have to be able to, what is the word, Danny?
You have to be able to what? Well,
this is going to kill me, but just kind of adapt.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Adapt. You have to be able to adapt. So whatever it is, because there's so many things that are going to.
I think you cut out there, Anthony. I don't know. You cut out. We can't hear you. Oh, no.
Sorry. I was getting a call.
I got you.
So, what happened now?
No,
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can barely hear you.
You got me?
I was really hoping this didn't happen. Let me see if sorry, give me 1 second here.
Sure.
Because my phone does some really weird things.
That was good. We got to come back to that because I liked what he was saying about being able to adapt.
You got me. All right, sweet.
I got you.
All right, excellent. So sorry, what were you saying before all that happened?
No, you were saying that you have to be able to adapt because I was asking you, you know, how you were able to make that shift.
Yeah, just because when I wasn't able to walk anymore, I'm like, I got to figure out the wheelchair. And again, if I wasn't able to adapt and figure out a new way to do things, I'd be literally stuck. I wouldn't be able to go anywhere, do anything, whether it's wash dishes, do my laundry, shave, because I had to learn how to do everything all over again.
Right.
I drive with my hands now, so I have a joystick on the left-hand side of my steering wheel. I pull back to go, and I press forward to brake.
Wow.
So it's little things like that. Just learning how to do things differently has made a huge difference in my life, and just knowing that, it, like you said, it's not always going to go your way.
Mm-hmm.
So just knowing that going into life sets you up for when things do go wrong. You're like, okay, I knew this was going to happen, and now I just have to figure out how I'm going to get through this situation or this problem and come out the other side. So
yeah, I think you said a couple things there too, because in the days when, or the weeks or the months or the years when you're kind of struggling, I think you have to believe in something greater than yourself. And you said, you know, you believe in God, whether it's the universe, whatever people choose to believe in. And it's also having, you know, supportive people around you. And sometimes you have to put distance between you and other people because their negativity is really fueling you in the wrong way. And I like the fact that you said that you have both. You have faith and family, and that's really, really important for people to understand when you're struggling and you're challenged in life. And so,
and something that you just
how
said,
did
sorry,
go ahead.
no, I just wanted to cut in real quick there. You said the negative people in your life, and sometimes you don't even realize that they're negative people. They might not be saying bad things to you, but they're not helping you progress to where you need to be at. And they're keeping you stuck in this one spot. So there's that one thing that says if you hang around, the top 5 people you hang around with is going to be your average income or your average lifestyle. So if you're not happy with where you're at, take a look at who you're surrounded with, right? Because those people definitely have an influence on you.
Bro, that's so good. I think that's really important for people to understand. Yeah, it's so true. And I think sometimes if somebody's not overtly kind of saying, well, Anthony, you can't do that, we don't see that they're blocking us just because they're not saying that. But they might be like, well, Anthony, are you sure? And they'll come from a place of really concern. But
and care.
Right. That concern and care gets amplified to, in your mind, you don't think I can do this. And then you start to believe, well, maybe I can't, right? And so you're so right. Like, who are the 5 people that you're spending the most time with? Are they goal getters? GOAL. Are they goal getters? What are they doing in their life? Do they have goals and dreams? If they don't, then it's likely that you're not going to be, right? So I like that. And so for you now, how did you get into like cycling? How did you kind of get into like looking at potentially trying out to be in the Olympics, which is amazing, bro? Like, how did you make that transition?
I say people don't get a second chance at life a lot of times, right? You go through childhood, whatever, and you have the opportunity and then you squander it away. And it's just life hits you. You have kids, you have a job, and you just don't have the ability to do certain things anymore. And for me, it was like the wheelchair was a new lease on life. I'm like, I hit the reset button. I'm like, what do I want to do? Like you said, I was like, I couldn't go back to where I was. So just look forward. And everyone's like, you need to try wheelchair basketball. You need to try wheelchair basketball. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this wheelchair basketball thing. So I tried it and very quickly found that wheelchair athletes are just as good, if not better, than able-bodied athletes because of the stuff that they just have to deal with, right? So that was a lot of fun. I made it into a pretty good basketball team, and I was sliding into the national program. I went to a couple of their camps.
Wow.
But I was never a basketball player. That was my mom. That was her thing.
Okay.
And I didn't limit myself either. I said, let me try everything. So I tried sit skiing. I just started snowboarding before my injury. And I was like, I never thought I'd make it to the top of a mountain ever again being in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And then they're like, you can ski sitting down. And I was like, seriously? So I went and I tried that. And it was absolutely amazing.
Really?
Oh my God. Have you ever been skiing?
Yeah.
Or snowboarding?
It's been a long time. Yeah.
So, like the rush, and if you are somewhat good at it, like it's fun and it's freedom. And so that's kind of like transitioned into the bike. So my buddy let me borrow his hand cycle. So I don't know, people are going to have to go check it out because generally I'll just show a picture of it and it's not here in my apartment. But 1 wheel in the front, 2 wheels in the back, and it's basically a tricycle that you pedal with your arms, and we average anywhere from 25 to 40 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
So the thing that really got me was the speed.
Oh, wow, that's fast,
Yeah,
man.
I'm an adrenaline junkie, and at basketball, you get going really fast, but you got to stop immediately. You know, once you're out of bounds on the bike, you get to the top of a hill, and you can just see how far you're going to go, and you can only imagine how fast too. So it's a rush. 3 inches off the ground, your elbows scrape sometimes.
Wow.
You can crash. You're only protected by spandex and a little plastic thing on your head. So I love it. It's the rush.
Wow. But you're not,
And
aren't
then,
you ever like scared out there going up these big hills? Yeah.
oh yeah, and I drive like I ride on Leslie. You know Leslie Street in North York.
Yeah.
So in order to get to my trails downtown, I have to ride that, and I'm the same height as your tires on your car.
Wow.
So people that aren't paying attention, like I'm on the side of the road.
Wow.
It's because it's road racing. We're like the Tour de France. So 15 kilometers to 65 kilometers. My longest ride has been 130 kilometers.
130 kilometers?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So it's an amazing sport. But when I found out that it was a Paralympic event, it was like, I have a second chance at doing this, you know, and why not? Shoot for the moon.
Right.
Shoot for the moon.
Right. And so at that point, did you kind of take it more serious? You said you have a coach and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So initially, like, it was really difficult because nobody hand cycles. It's not too well-known sport here in Canada, more Europe.
Okay.
They have the numbers there. So, like, we probably have 5 or 6, like, super competitive guys across Canada.
Wow.
Guys and girls across Canada. So it's not that great here. So finding a coach, it was really difficult. And just somebody that understands what would you say now? The body, right? Because everything's different now in the nervous system after you're injured, because our recovery times are a lot different than able-bodied athletes. So just working with the coach and figuring out that took a couple of years for sure. And then figuring out how to get funding. As you know, Canadian athletes aren't that well funded. And I picked the most expensive sport. I could have bought 3 basketball chairs with my bike.
Really?
Yeah. And the bikes change almost every year.
Wow.
So it's we're talking about anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 US.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? Jeez.
So figuring out how to get fundraisers going, sponsorship, do social media posts for sponsorship, all that stuff. It's been a real struggle. And now I have a manager. Jill's been a blessing. So she's really allowed me to scale back a lot of the emails and communication with teachers in terms of booking, speaking engagements and stuff like that, and hotels, so I can just focus on cycling and really be essentially a professional athlete, because I spend a lot more money than I get paid. So,
well, you know, shout out to Jill. Jill's awesome. I know she's in here. Jill's amazing, man. She's supportive of me too. She's been on a lot of these calls as well. But you know, in terms of like being a Canadian athlete and sponsorship, like I know it's tough in Canada because it's tough for just able-bodied athletes. So, like, it must be really tough for you to kind of find sponsorship here in Canada for what you do.
I've been really fortunate just because of my story.
Yeah.
Because of my accolades before, people know that I have the skill or talent, and then it's a feel-good story, and it's a win-win situation for sponsors too, right? Like, they get pretty well free well, not free, because, you know, it's like I said, an expensive sport, but they get the advertising, and they get to help me with a dream. So it's a win-win situation for everybody in the game.
Wow. Let's take a look at the comments here. Debbie said, it's hard to beat someone who doesn't give up. That's a quote by Babe Ruth. She said, yes, know thy truth. My boy Jeff A.D. Martin is in here. My boy Kurt's in here. Jill said, thanks. It's a real pleasure. Real Talk said, great content, fellas. My wife Trudy just came in. So, yeah, you have an amazing story, man. And I think, you know, about like never giving up, and that's probably why a lot of people invest in you. They knew your story before. They knew that you were a super athlete before all of this, and now they can probably see that, you know, that energy behind this. So how did this whole journey to trying to become an Olympic athlete come about? How did that you went from just cycling just for fun to getting more serious? Like, how did that whole thing happen?
Well, it was, to tell you the honest God truth, I got into cycling knowing that this was going to be the goal.
Okay.
Yeah, because the competitiveness was always there. So in basketball, just knowing that I had the ability to make the national team and go to the Paralympics
Wow.
and possibly bring home a gold medal, this is like, all right, this is real right now. And like I said, a lot of people don't get a second chance, a second opportunity. And the reason I really left basketball, I just felt like I wasn't getting treated too well. The system wasn't too great at the time. And when I got on that bike, it was freedom.
Yeah.
Like, I got to go outside and ride with whoever, you know, like my one buddy was in here earlier and I brought him to a basketball practice. He's a shooter. And so I'm like, oh, you're going to love this. It's so much more difficult. Like, you got a nice shot. We'll see how you do. And the rims from the wheelchair ripped his hands apart like the first 3 minutes of practice. He got out the chair. He was so pissed. He's like, I'm not doing this. Right? So
wow.
I was like, I couldn't enjoy it with my friends, really. So when I got on the bike, it was able, like, I got on the bike with whoever, and now I'm riding faster than the majority of the people on the trails. So it was, from the get-go, I knew that this was real. I knew that I had something, and why not?
Right.
You know, like I said, shoot for the moon.
Yeah.
Set big goals.
Yeah.
And go places. So
like, what's your training like on the bike? Like, what's the regimen of your training?
So I'm on the bike anywhere from, I'd say, depending on the week, 4 to 6 days a week. And so
wow,
I'm working in 4-week cycles. So the third week is generally the hardest, and that'll like kick the crap out of me. The fourth week will be like recovery rides like I'm doing right now. So this week I have 3 recovery rides at 2 hours each.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I'll probably cover about 40 to 50 kilometers in that 2 hours.
Jeez.
And so that's right now. It sucks because there's no real training or racing going on this year. So right now I'd be gearing up for nationals. So it would be shorter races or training sessions, but a really, really, really intense volume. So interval training, like hill repeats. I train in Arizona. So like in the wintertime, I get out here, I go to Arizona. And the reason I go there is because there's a massive mountain there that I like to climb. It's a 26-mile mountain, so 40 kilometers.
Wow.
And you're just going up for it took me almost 4 hours to get to the top.
4 hours of just hand cranking with your hands. Oh man, that'd be hard just on a regular bike. So like with your arms, it's got to be. So aside, like, so what do you do to work out? Is it just you just get on the bike, or is it like, are you doing like weights and all that with your arms? Like, cause man, 4 hours of just hand cranking up a mountain. Man,
it's horrible. Wow. It's horrible. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Right?
Wow.
We say cycling's a stupid sport because you generally just suffer. It's not a fun sport. When you're really in it to train and race, it's horrible. You have to be mentally tough and just ready to hurt.
Right.
But I don't do too much strength and conditioning. Well, I do strength and conditioning, but not a lot of weights because we're trying to be as light as possible.
Right.
So more resistance band stuff and body weight things like push-ups. But yeah, resistance bands, you know, those TRX straps.
Oh yeah.
And see at the gyms, those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
No real, like my heaviest weight is like 10 pounds.
Still.
But it'll be like heavy or high repetition. So like 15, 20 reps, stuff like that.
Jill said, show the guns. Listen, I know he has guns because if he's 4 hour hand crank bike up a mountain, I already know, right? I know that's hard work. So like you said, it's a tough sport. Like it physically and mentally beats you up. So how do you kind of get in the mindset just to keep going? Like me, if I was, I'd be done after 10, 20 minutes. Like where's that mindset come from? What do you tell yourself to be like, I'm going to keep going?
I tell myself anything and everything I can think of and muster up. Because honestly, to tell you the truth, getting on the bike is probably the hardest part.
Okay.
And especially if I know that I'm going to suffer, because my heart rate gets into the 190s. And when you're in 190s, your vision goes small, your chest feels like it's going to explode, and you don't want to be there.
Right.
So you know you have to just have it.
Right.
Cycling will spit out weak people real fast.
Right.
You can't be a weak person in cycle,
right,
especially mentally, because it's just the sport.
Right.
Like, really, honestly and truly, it's just the sport. But there's so many things. Like, I'll go to, we call it a dark place, and you think of pain, you think of difficult times in your life. It's very, very interesting. I say some mean things to myself sometimes to keep going.
Wow.
It's very, very, very interesting.
So you kind of take that approach where it's just like you use all this pain and this anger to just fight through the quitting. That's what you do? That's how you kind of tackle? Wow.
The bike is a release. The bike is a release. A lot of people go to the gym and they rep it out and whatever. They lift heavy weights. But, you know, when you can get your heart rate up into 190s and really push it out, and that's real pain. Wow. You know, everything else becomes very small after that. Wow. So it's really hard to describe. Honestly, I'm probably not doing it good.
No, it's okay. I
really
know, I get it. I know what you're talking about. I get, definitely being an athlete, I get what you're saying. So, so in terms of like the Olympics now, right? What's happening with, you're trying to qualify for Tokyo, right? So what's happening with all of that now? How does the qualifying work, and what's the next phase for you?
So it's really interesting. It's been an amazing past 2 years. I had a coaching change, and since that happened, I got a lot stronger. Like, I was fast before, but now I'm a lot stronger. I can carry it for a lot further. And because I got a lot stronger, it put me into a different class at the end of last year. So to try and put this as simply as possible, I had done a lot of the qualifications in my previous class. And then at the very end of last year, they're like, well, you're going into a new class now. And all your prior qualifications and stuff don't count.
Oh, wow.
And so now I'm like, well, this sucks, because you don't have a lot of time anymore. You have months literally to try and do the most, which realistically is impossible.
Right.
So I was like, this kind of sucks. I was still going to try, but it sucked. And then they're like, this is going to get postponed. So then I was like, oh, so this gives me more time now to get stronger, to get faster, and to do these qualification things. So as long as something happens by the end of the year, I can most likely qualify here, do the qualifications early next spring, and then be off to Tokyo in August.
Wow.
And 2021. So
everybody, we have a real life Olympic athlete in the making right now. He's going to be in Tokyo. He's going to be in the Paralympics. You're going to be there. We're putting it out there right now.
Most definitely.
Everybody,
most definitely. You're right.
If you guys are digging this, give some hearts. If you have any questions, let us know. But I'm loving the story, man. I love the mindset that you have, because I see a lot of people that just get held up on something and they just can't get over it. And the fact that you've been able to kind of make this transition in your life and to move on to this next chapter, I think that's amazing. And I think that's a testament to like who you are as a person, and probably a lot of with your mom and these other things. I've heard you mention your mom a few times. So talk to me like a little bit about that. Like, what was that like? Where do you get that passion and that drive from?
Definitely my mom, without a doubt. Growing up, she told us that, you know, we can do anything through Christ.
Yeah.
And that was the confidence that I had, you know, just knowing that she always said, you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Right.
And she was an athlete, got multiple scholarship offers. So that's kind of like, I'm just like, I want to be like my mom, you know, be an amazing athlete. Wow. There was newspaper articles. So I saw all that growing up. And she's just been one of the biggest role models for me ever. Raising my sister and I, single mom, it was just,
wow.
She did the most.
Yeah.
Well, and just made sure that we were great.
The seeds for you, man. It sounds like she really planted the seeds. Like, you're looking at your mom, who's this athlete who got scholarships and stuff. I mean, that must have been amazing kind of growing up and hearing all those stories. And then
Oh yeah.
you became a great athlete yourself.
Yeah, and I was fast too, and she kicked my ass until I was in like grade 3 or grade 4. Right? Even on the basketball court, she had her little hook shot, and so it was good. It was good growing up. I'm super blessed, super,
Wow.
super, super blessed.
So, throughout this whole journey, Anthony, like what is one or two things that you really learned about yourself going through all of this? Like what's one or two things that you never knew about yourself that you kind of discovered along this journey?
So I always thought that I was a horrible student. In high school, elementary school, I never applied myself. And the teachers always said, Anthony's a great kid, a great student. He's very smart. He just never applied himself. And I always thought that I knew I wasn't dumb, but I'm like, school's not for me. And I just really wasn't that interested. And after the injury and really thinking about like, what do I want to do? And thinking about business and then going to Seneca and averaging 70 and 75. And I was barely even doing my work.
Wow.
I was like, you're not dumb. You're just lazy. And it was one of those things. It was like light bulb. And then I started getting to work. And when I started putting in work in different areas of my life, speaking opportunities started. People started inviting me out to different conferences and conventions and onto different boards. And so like I'm part of the Accessibility Advisory Committee for Pickering.
Oh.
I was the Accessibility Advisory Chair for the Parasport Games in 2019.
Wow.
So all sorts of doors are opening up now just because I've been diligent and I've been putting in the work. So
I think that's great, because I think that's what people need to understand. When you're feeling stuck or something, just do something, right? Just do something and do it consistently. And like you said, opportunities will start to come. But I think a lot of us think ourselves out of taking action. We think ourselves out of it. It's like, well, I don't know how to get out of this situation, so I'm not going to do anything. You didn't. You were just like, I have to learn all of these things. I have to learn how to use a wheelchair. I have to learn how to drive with a in a new way. And you just kind of just put yourself out there. And then all of these things started happening. You had the idea that you want to try out for the Olympics. You started getting on all these boards. And I think that's a really great lesson for people. It's like, you don't have to have the perfect plan. You just got to do something, right?
yeah, because you can have the perfect plan and I guarantee you it's going to get screwed up. Like something's going to happen. Your train's going to get derailed. I know you heard the quote. They say, you make plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
Like when people say, Jesus, take the wheel, literally I was like, all right, go ahead. Because, but with that being said, I say God doesn't help those that don't help themselves.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the things where I'm like, I'm out there, I'm trying. And then God's like, okay, I see you. And then boom, door opens up and it's like amazing.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Some comments here. Wheels Mafia said, Anthony is the man. My girl Tash is giving you a bunch of hearts. What's up, Dr. Vibe? There's a lot of people in here. So, Anthony, what's something that, because you've overcome a lot. You have this sort of mindset about you. You have this energy, and I really love the energy that you have. And I can see why people ask you to come and speak, because your energy is just like boom, and I love that. But you also talked about kind of being lazy. So if you're lazy, how is it that you're able to kind of like train and speak and you're doing the most? So where does the laziness end and the fire begin? Because you're doing a lot for a lazy person. Let me tell you.
It's really interesting. When I shut down, I completely shut down. And I think that's what it is. It's like I won't respond to you for maybe like a day or something, but that's because I've done work and I'm like, all right, I'm shutting down. And I think it's balance is really what it is, and figuring out when to and when not to, because a lot of people will put themselves out there a lot all the time and they don't get anything back. And not to say that everything that you do, you need to get something back, but it has to be a two-way street, because then you're just getting taken advantage of.
Right.
And nobody likes getting taken advantage of. So I'm very, I don't know if the word's smart about how I spend my time now, but I realize it. And even being in the wheelchair too and training and stuff, I know that I need to devote my energy to certain places. So it's just knowing where to and when to, I guess. but the energy definitely comes from just honestly being alive.
Yeah.
The fact that I can wake up every day, open my eyes, get out of bed by myself, because there's so many people that have had way less injuries and they can't do this, they can't shower themselves. I'm completely independent. I live on my own. I cook, I clean, you know what I mean? So I'm just super blessed, and it's looking at the little things in life that we often take for granted that has really given me the zest for life that I have, really and truly.
Bro, I love that, man. And I love the fact that it's about gratitude, right? Like you said, like the fact that you can do all of these things, you're still alive, you still have, great family and friends. And I think a lot of us, we have to learn to focus on the things that we have in our life, the things that are working in our life, because it's so easy to get caught up in the things that aren't working. Like, you could easily do that. You know what I'm saying? You could easily say, well, I'm not, I can't do the things that I used to do the way I used to do it, and so I just give up. But you refuse to do that. And I think that's a good lesson for a lot of people who are on this call. Like, be grateful. Be grateful for what you have, regardless of how little you think you have. Be grateful for the little that you have, right? And I love that.
You have to be. You have to. Because when, at the end of the day, especially here, I was talking to someone a few months ago, and he said, if you're in Canada, even if you're homeless, you made it. So I think he was from like Bangladesh or somewhere. Wow. And he says, go look at a homeless person in Bangladesh.
Wow.
And he says, they don't have clothes, they have rags and a cardboard box. And, you see some of these people down here at Tent City, they got tarps, they got 2 bedrooms, like, it's perspective. It's perspective.
Yeah.
It's perspective.
And I completely agree with you. I traveled to Thailand a couple of years ago, me and my wife on our honeymoon. And I remember seeing people in Thailand on a piece of cardboard with 2 babies sleeping outside on just a piece of cardboard with their 2 babies, right? And I always used to think that I grew up poor because I grew up in low-income housing. And you're right. Once I started traveling and seeing real poverty in Brazil and Thailand and all these other countries, that really helped me to put things in perspective. And it really helped me to shape my mindset around how I grew up. Then I started saying, I never grew up poor. There were times we just never had food or whatever, but I wasn't poor. And so I completely agree with you when you talk about putting things into perspective, right? It's so important to do that.
Definitely is.
So what like for you, what is like a big goal or a dream that you have? I know obviously to make the Olympics, that's definitely going to happen for you. But what's like another big goal or big dream that you have?
How much time do we got?
We got about 7 minutes.
So it's funny because I'm tackling them day by day. I always wanted to race cars, just being who I was. So yesterday I went to the racetrack.
Really?
And yeah, I got my car. I'm on the racetrack. Got some instruction with a driving instructor. So I'm doing 140 hard on the brakes, down to 80 in the corner and stuff like that.
Wow.
So that was a lot of fun. But I started a nonprofit organization to help people with disabilities get out and lead an active and healthy lifestyle.
Oh, great. That's so great, man.
Over the past couple of years, I just haven't been able to devote the time towards it because I've been using my airplane analogy, putting my mask on first before I help others. And I think that I'm finally getting to a point where hopefully by the end of the year, and with some help from Jill, we can get some things going and give away some equipment or whatever somebody might need that has a disability to help them along in their pursuits.
What's the name of your charity and how can people donate to the charity?
So we're still getting that all together. Like I said, it's really grassroots right now, but it's Free Reign Empowerment Organization.
Okay.
And even still with the name, it's so long ago that I'll probably change it again.
Yeah, that's all right.
But yeah, I want to be able to really help out people that are in need, like people have done for me. Mm-hmm. And furthermore from that, just keep going. And at the end of the day, the goal is to become a philanthropist.
Yeah.
That would be my title. Yeah. And I just want to have money to be able to help out whoever needs it kind of thing.
You're doing it now, man. You're inspiring a lot of people. Your story is inspiring a lot of people. And just your energy and the way that you wake up. I think a lot of people that you've probably spoken to, and a lot of people on this call right now are probably realizing, wow, there's some, I need to change my energy around the things that I'm doing in my life. So you're doing it. You're already giving back with your story. You're giving back with your charity. You're giving back with, all the great work that you're doing in the community. So I can see it, man. And I love that.
Thank you.
Kaylee said, woo, go fast from Caleb. Awesome. Jill said all in. So in terms of your journey on trying to get to the Olympics, I know that you have like a GoFundMe page or something like that?
Yep.
So how can people access that? Is it in your bio?
It's yep. So if you can go to my website, anthonylue.com, you can check it out there, and there will be a button there. It says become a sponsor. You just hit that little red button and you can donate. That'll take you to the GoFundMe site. I take e-transfers, checks, like there's contact information on the website. So you can drop me a line and I'll get back to you if however you want to help or whatever the case is, because people come with all sorts of offers sometimes. So it's not necessarily monetarily. It could be equipment, it could be exposure, it could be whatever, right? So there's a lot of different avenues. And Twitter, Instagram, I'm all on there at AL Trek to Tokyo. And I just changed my Instagram to Anthony.Lue.
Okay.
Just because I want somewhat of an identity away from cycling. Because like you said, I do so many things and it's not just about cycling.
No, you do a lot of things. And I think that, it's really important that Anthony Lue, the man and the person, that you have that identity. You can do all these other things, but at the end of the day, it's you doing it, right? So I love the fact that you did that. Everybody, make sure you're following him. If you're not, make sure you follow Anthony. Anthony, we got about 3 minutes left. What's something that you want people to know before we get out of here?
Work on yourself. Personal development is huge. There's a lot of us that are stuck, and we know, not even necessarily stuck. You might be in a good job, might be happy with your family situation right now, but you're batting way below your average. And you've had these goals and these dreams that you've given up on years ago. And for whatever the reason is, whether you just don't want to do it or anything or anymore, but don't stay still. I say comfort is a self-tightening noose. And whatever it is, if you get too comfortable in your job, your boss is going to fire you. You get too comfortable in your relationship, your person's going to leave you. It's one of those things where you just have to keep on moving and got to keep growing, because why not? Right? Like, why not? Like, there's so much to experience in this world and in this life, so many amazing people to meet. Get out of your house, talk to people, have fun. I got love and respect tattooed on my biceps, and it's just, those are two things that I live by. So that's it, just love everybody, respect everybody, and do unto others as you'd want to do unto you, especially with everything going on nowadays.
Wow.
Just be a good person.
Be a good person. Love and respect. Man, I love that. Man, you guys, Anthony, thanks so much for being here, man. If you're not following him, make sure you go and follow Anthony. Hopefully we can save this and we'll get the replay up. But we're definitely going to be promoting your GoFundMe so that we can try to get you some more funds and so on and get you some more exposure. But man, thank you so much for being here. Your story is very inspiring. And keep doing everything that you and others. Keep up the love and the respect. Man, I really respect everything that you're doing and all the moves that you're out here making.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I will definitely continue to watch your stuff too, because again, I got a book down here. I'm sitting there, like I said, I'll be listening, doing stuff around my apartment, and I'll be coming to write something down like, oh, that's money, that's gold, So you've been a great inspiration as well too, and I can't wait to get around more people like yourself and the guys that wrote the book and just grow, make some connections, network, grow, and just put a dent in this universe. You know what I mean?
You're doing it, man. You're doing it. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks, Anthony, for being here. I'm back again on Wednesday, and I'll see you guys Wednesday at 2. Anthony, have a great day, brother.
You as well.
All right, take care, everybody. See ya.
Take it easy.